of The Rebel's Edge. I'm Jon Najarian, my brother Pete joining shortly. We're going to tell you about how we finally got to 60 votes in the Senate and what it might mean for markets this week and perhaps all the way to the end of the year. All of that on today's Rebel's Edge. I'm here at the uncorrelated event here at Cayman Island, Pete.
I feel terrible.
Grand Cayman, I'm pretty sure they call it. But
Yeah.
I was just on stage with a friend of Pete's and a friend of mine, Raul Paul.
Great guy.
The founder of Real Vision, a guy that used to run hedge fund for Goldman Sachs out of London, Pete.
Mm-hmm.
And then got bit by the crypto bug. And luckily for him, because that's probably why he lives here. And, but he shared a lot of great insights about crypto, Pete, about AI, and what a smart guy. If you ever, and Pete knows this, folks, but if you ever want to see some, pretty close to Elon Musk sort of genius, tune into some of his broadcasts on Real Vision. I mean, it is amazing what he offered up, Pete, to the audience. And can't thank him enough for coming on with me. I got another one this afternoon with one of our companies, Pete, that's a DAT, Digital Asset Treasury, called Upexi. They're a Solana DAT. And I'll be on stage with Alan from that firm, as well as the one and only Grant Cardone.
He's down there, huh?
He is. He flew in just for this. I don't know if he's flying. If he flies out tomorrow, I'm flying with him. But if not, Pete, I'll have to be with the chickens and on the commercial plane, because Pete was using the jet to go out to Greenville, South Carolina for the Clemson game, right, Pete?
Yeah, Clemson. I'll tell you what, Clemson itself has a great private airport, John, and they are loaded with, it almost looked like Notre Dame, and I'm not exaggerating. I mean, one after another coming in for the game. At 7 o'clock. So what time do we start the tailgates for a 7 o'clock kickoff? Well, about 11 o'clock in the morning down there in Clemson. I mean, those guys, they are friendly. They are happy. For a lot of reasons, they're happy. That's why my voice sounds the way it does, because all you're doing is having a ball out there, and everywhere you go, I have never seen so many pickup trucks lined up in my life. I mean, in every type of pickup truck that is made was out there, and they were great. But the private jet part was pretty damn impressive. And I'll tell you what, one of the most beautiful cities I have seen in a really long time is Greenville. It is killer. And a friend of yours, John, and a friend of mine lives there. And I had an opportunity to sit down for a coffee and talk with him about a bunch of things going on. And I'll tell you what, South Carolina is probably overlooked by a lot of society, but not by really good businessmen, because that place is booming. And I mean booming. And those housing builders and everything else, they're on fire. I think I was told that over 1,000 people a month are flying or are moving into South Carolina. Just
wow.
Unreal.
Probably getting more now.
Yeah.
After that vote last week in New York. We'll be telling you more about that, folks, because one of the people that Pete met with, we can't quite talk about it yet because it's got to go to the SEC, but we're both joining the board of a fabulous company down there. And that'll be interesting because they are killing it, Pete.
Yep.
And enough said. And Dabo Sweeney, the head coach, had to feel pretty good, Pete, about, what was it, 24-10 win?
Yeah, Florida State, and think about this, John. At the beginning of the year, Florida State was going to be a top, and we won't go too long on this because we got sports later on, but they were a top, 5 team, maybe 10, whatever it was, Florida State at the start of the year, beat Alabama. That's Alabama's one loss, and that was the first game of the year. And meanwhile, I'm looking at the talent on that football team. It's unbelievable. And Clemson, which had been in a bit of a slump, all of a sudden came up and no longer on the slump. I'll tell you what, John, that is 88,000 people that go absolutely crazy for their team, and their noise that they made against Florida State was helpful for the football team. I can tell you that. It was unbelievable to watch. And Dabo was out there and just excited beyond words, because you know what? Through and through, that guy's a Clemson guy. He might have played at Alabama and coached at Alabama, but he is Mr. Clemson. There's no doubt about it.
Well, let's dive into macro, Pete. We'll probably have to extend the Dabo conversation to tomorrow. But macro, I'm going to say 8 Democratic senators finally broke with their so-called leadership that was blocking the military getting paid. Even when they put through, let's just pay the military, they said, nope, we're blocking it. Well, so finally 8 members of the Democratic Senate brigade voted with the 53 Republicans or 52 Republicans, and it passed. The package doesn't include an extension for enhanced affordable care tax credits. And by the way, Pete, do you know how many people are on the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, known as Obamacare? I'll tell you, 24 million. We're a country of 355 million. So it's under 7%. And they wanted to send these healthcare companies a crap ton of money for no good reason. It's not going to help. It's just like, with college. If you basically let everybody go to college and take out huge student loans, of course the inflation of college degrees just goes through the roof. Same thing with the Affordable Care Act. It is not affordable. It's about as bad as the Inflation Reduction Act was poorly named as well. But anyway, enough said, Pete. What do you got?
Yeah, no, I think that is the biggest story we could have. I mean, that, we talk about earnings being big, and they have been big, and we still have plenty of them still going to be rolling out, but we've gotten through a heck of a lot of them already. But I think, John, you're exactly right. I mean, what's going on with the government itself and the shutdown and how long it's taken now. And we've talked about it. I think at the very beginning, I kind of thought, well, we'll be probably, 15 or 20 days and they'll come to their senses. And then now here we are. So it's a big deal, but because of what's gone on there and the potential excitement of things, the Dow started off at least pretty good, but the Nasdaq's had a pretty decent day, a nice bounce. And you brought up the idea that at some point in time, when there's a full approval of this whole thing, maybe the stock market moves up 1,000 points type of thing or whatever. I still think that's a possibility. I'll tell you what, and we'll get into it in a second. I'll skip towards fantasy or fantastic rather, because I'll tell you what, there's a lot going on with the VIX, but I'll let you start that one off.
I'll do it quick. 2% rally out of gold, 3% rally out of silver. Investors basically juggling between U.S. economic weakness and the government shutdown coming to an end. So that's me, Pete. What do you got for the VIX?
We can't stay over 20, John. We pop over it and we pull back. We pop over it and we pull back. And that's what's been happening for give or take the last month or so. And it just continues to be. And last Thursday, we got all the way up. We were almost at 23, pulled back again. And then all of a sudden we close at 19. And here we are today, trading somewhere in the 18s. It's been pretty interesting to see how the volatility index has been moving around. But it's interesting that it's had a hard time sustaining that upper side. Now, a lot of different trades out there that are getting more and more interesting, and we've seen a lot of more bullish trades than we have on the bearish side. So I think that part of it, at least from the unusual option activity that we track, is definitely pretty interesting. But as far as the volatility index itself, having a hard time, John, getting above there and holding. It just can't seem to do it, and that's probably a good thing, because maybe we're going to get this whole thing taken care of with all of this in the not too distant future with the government itself.
Well, in fact, Pete, while you were enjoying all the hospitality of Dabo Sweeney and Clemson and all the folks down there in Greenville, we were doing a cocktail hour, as we do every Friday for our clients. We do a cocktail hour Zoom meeting where we talk about what we all like. And Jeff Garbaz, our guy in the morning with the short setup and so forth, Pete, he had this to say about what was going on with what he saw on the charts. And so we just wanted to share it with you guys. There's Jeff.
There he is.
That happened today that's a problem We broke the 50-day moving average on the S&P. You can see since the April, we kind of have stayed nicely above the 50-day moving average. So the fact that we've broken it is troublesome, and we need to get back above it. The good thing is we're oversold. I want to see if we can get back above 664.71. I would argue that if we can, we actually might even be able to come all the way up to 670 by the end of the day. The one thing.
Yep. And Pete, then live for everybody on the cocktail hour, he bought it. And he said, now if we break back down below the 50-day moving average, I got to get out. But he said, if that happens, Monday or Tuesday will be the bottom, and you'll be able to bounce from there. Well, we bounced on Friday on Jeff's call and went through 6,700 for the full value S&P 500. And right now we're at what, Pete? 6784. So we're a lot higher than we were on the depths, of Thursday and Friday. And that does feel better, I must say, Pete. But just tip of the hat to Mr. Garbaz for that great call. And by the way, folks, if you want to get calls like that, you should scan the QR code and come on over to marketrebellion.com/get started. You can just scan that QR code on the screen and you could start trading smarter, just like the tens of thousands of customers that are with us do each and every day. Just scan the QR code and start trading smarter. All right, Pete, let's dive into a bunch of stocks because they're moving. Healthcare stocks. Well, these, of course, health insurers, the president finally just said, you know what? With this big, bad, money-sucking insurance companies, those are the president's words, folks. And I'm sure both the lovers and haters of the president know that he likes to throw around that kind of verbiage about what's going on with something he loves or something he hates. And he's not a fan of these health insurers. And so he said, we got to figure out a way to get the money to the people and not just send $35 billion to a bunch of healthcare companies. And so that's what he's going to try to do, Pete. And so all those healthcare stocks did like this. Bang.
Well, they're getting pummeled pretty good, John. So that's something that obviously he's talking about, the idea of directly paying folks out there, right? I mean, that's kind of the idea, and he's not very happy with these insurance companies. So yeah, I mean, I think that says it all. They're sentient right there, and it shows you what they think of what's going on right now, and that's pounding these different healthcare stocks across the board. I mean, everything from UNH to Humana to CVS, all of them, Molina. I mean, you take a look, they're all getting beat up today for all the right reasons. And I think that anybody who's got a sane mind in this understands what the president's frustration is. So interesting to see how this is happening, and across the board, just selling. I mean, that's definitely something that we're watching very carefully, but understood, and people are reading what the president is saying and listening to what he's saying. So they're actually following along with the money that they've got, and they're pushing these things down.
Yeah, it breaks my heart.
Yeah, you and me both.
I mean, health insurance premiums for all of us went up a lot, folks.
Right.
But the ACA is just extraordinarily expensive. And during COVID, as you guys know, the Biden administration said, hey, people are hurting, we're going to subsidize it. And they did. And that's what they wanted to extend here. And it's like, holy crap, though. Eventually you run out of other people's money. I think Margaret Thatcher said that. All right. Let's talk about COGT Bioscience, because it's up 135%. This isn't just some little $5 million stock, folks. This is a $1 billion unicorn, and they're up massively because a phase 3 peak trial for one of their gastrointestinal tumor treatments just is reporting great data. And that's why the stock, people just said, buy it with both hands. Just buy it. And look at the volume on this thing, Pete. for COGT. I mean, 10 million shares today and a new 52-week high, 35.50.
Yep. It's up near their 7-year highs as well, John. So, I mean, this is something really big. I mean, the idea that this thing went from $15 all the way up to 35.50 on the highs is pretty extraordinary. You look at the short interest there as well. You've got about 12%. They do have some cash burn, but this is really, really good news for people. And, you know, this is phase 3. So you get good news at phase 3, you got a really good shot when it comes to the approval process, obviously. So I think that people are starting to look ahead there. And they didn't just do well, they did extremely well. And I think that's what really stands out. They have a good pipeline as well, John, of other different type of late stage therapies that they're working on. But this one is the one that everybody's focused on today. There's no doubt about it. And like you said, 123%, 130%, whatever it is, that's a monstrous number. And I'll tell you what, it is, last I looked, it was earlier, which was, it was a 6X already. So I think basically what you're telling me is that's gone up quite a bit higher as well for understandable reasons. This is exactly what happens in these biotech, biosciences, whatever you want to categorize them at. But when you get into late stage and it goes this well, you got a damn good chance that that's going to get approved. So good for them, and it's good for society, and it's good for all of us. So exciting news for everybody, and especially shareholders of that stock for sure.
No. Not such good news over at Monday.com, Pete, because shares of Monday.com were down 22%. Now, they've cut that, but they haven't cut it in half. It's down to only being down 15% at mid-session, but the revenue was well below street estimates. And they now expect total revenue between 328 million and 330 million. Basically, they had been looking for 334 million. So a not very good earnings report. They're lucky they're only down 15% with the numbers I'm seeing, Pete.
Well, the only pushback I'd give, John, was the quarter itself was good, but the outlook itself was terrible. Now, I just wondered if they're incorrect about this outlook. That's the thing that I took away, is that maybe they're being a little conservative. I can't really tell you, but I look at their profits, John. They were up 36% year over year. I look over at the revenue is up 26% year over year. But then, to your point, you start looking at what they're projecting out there with the Q4 outlook, and you go, ouch, revenue is not going to hit the numbers that they're looking for and everything. And we always talk about that being a pretty big deal. This stock was down 20%. It's come off of the lows of the day, but is it something where they actually, maybe they're just playing it soft or whatever, John, and they're just not really wanting to be too overly aggressive? I don't know, but whatever the case may be, I kind of started looking at this thing going, I wonder if down 15%, that might be a little bit of a discount that we could maybe take a look at this one. So I haven't done anything yet. I know you were talking a little more negatively than me, but I think that's something. Shoot, we may have to talk this one over later on today, because it seems to me like they're in the right spot. They're doing the right things. The quarter itself was good, like I say, but obviously the outlook, like you said, which we talk about all the time, but it kind of feels like they just went a little bit soft on that, and maybe they can beat that. And look at the big beats that they had for this quarter. So if they could continue anything close to that and beat what they put out there for the outlook, maybe this stock starts to find a little momentum again to the upside.
Well, let's wind it up, Pete, with Rumble, which was up to $6.84. That was 19% rally or so at that point. But what is this deal? What's the driver here? Well, they're basically exchanging a whole bunch of stock with a German AI cloud operator called Northern Data. And it's an interesting play. It's given them almost $800 million worth of stock. And then they'll own about 30%, I'm sorry, not 34, 30.4% of the combined company, that German cloud company will. But this is why I think a lot of people are focused on data centers, Pete, because if like I said, in this case, these guys are just doing a merger with the company, and the stock jumped as much as 19%, pulled back, but it's still holding on to a decent gain on the session. And they've got Tether as part of Rumble for a long time. So maybe there's a lot more upside. Maybe it can double from here and go back towards that 52-week high.
And I think that I agree with you, John. And that's actually exactly what I think. I think what they're doing here, it makes a lot of sense to kind of bolster things a little bit. And that's why when you're looking at the stock that's not too far off 52-week lows, this deal could make them actually start to be a lot more relevant again and get people more excited about it. This is the largest stablecoin issuer is Tether. So it's one of those where I think it's worth keeping a close eye on this thing, and maybe you're getting this at a discount. I'm not trying to be the guy who's trying to buy bottoms on these things, but it just looks like with the deal that they've got, and then you look over at Rumble and you say, all right, here's what they are, and this is where they've been, this is where the highs and the lows are. It's closer to those lows, and it looks to me like this is a deal that could make them a little bit closer to those highs. So I like what we're reading about and seeing right now, and this is one that definitely going to keep on the radar in the future.
All right. Well, let's take a look, Pete. We're at that point in the show where we get to do a little sports. And we have an interesting video today because the video shows that unbelievable drive by Mendoza, Mendoza, as he's now known, because he went 5 for 8, Pete, on this drive. You're seeing all the completions here. 5 for 8, and drove him all the way down, basically to put him in position to win for the first time ever at Happy Valley.
Yeah, I got to tell you something. This Indiana team they're doing everything the right way. And the last pass he throws, which is that one, and the way that kid used his body and his feet to make that actually a real catch, and it's absolutely, you can't argue against it. He's inside the white. He gets both feet in there, and just absolutely incredible, John. But again, this was more about the quarterback himself. If you want to win a Heisman Trophy, this is how you do it, right? I mean, he's been great all year. He moves the very end of the game. I mean, this is something out of, Warner Brothers or something. I mean, this is absolutely incredible. He goes down the field, had, I think, 1 incompletion or maybe 2, whatever it was, but they didn't have a whole lot of time, and he directed this team against a better than their record Penn State team. That's a school right now that's just in a very black hole. They're having a hard time getting a win, John, and that part of it is their quarterback getting hurt, their coach getting fired, and all that goes along with that. But Indiana's for real. I mean, these guys are great. And if you don't like the head coach, even if he's a guy, on the other side, that guy's likable because he's so damn, he is focused, and he's got a certain style to him about how he approaches everything. And coming from James Madison, all the rest of it, he's just a special guy. I think it's a lot of fun, and I'm really excited for the quarterback because Mendoza deserves it. He was a Cal guy. He moved over to Indiana. His brother's his backup. I mean, it's a great story, man. It's a really great story. All right. Should we jump into the NFL? Here's what I got for you, John. When you look at the NFL at the start of this year, who did everybody talk about? Well, it was all about, can Philadelphia do it again? And how about Buffalo? And what about, Cincinnati? Not a great defense, but they got Joe Burrow, all these different things, Kansas City. Nobody's really talking about any of those guys. You know who they're talking about? They're talking about your Chicago Bears and what's going on there, and the fact that, they had a great second half yesterday against the Giants, and I think the Giants head coach is going to be gone pretty soon, John. I don't know how long he's going to still be the head coach there. I think the GM might get fired as well because the Giants just aren't getting it done. But Caleb Williams is. I mean, the fact of how he's matured, John, in a short period of time, because I was not a fan, but 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's only been sacked 14 times. I think last year, wasn't he one of those guys who was like
68 times last year?
Yeah. So interesting to see that. So you got the Bears at 6-3. How about the Indianapolis Colts at 8-2? I mean, all they do is win. Jonathan Taylor's an absolute freak show. And your buddy, Indiana Jones has been pretty damn good. The Ravens are starting to make a little bit of a move because of the fact they finally got their quarterback back, and they beat the Vikings, who can't find a win for their life because their defense stinks, even though everybody tells me he's the best defensive coordinator in football, Pete. And I'm like, really? well, why do we give up about 150 to 200 yards a game on the ground? But anyway, there's reasons for that. Patriots are 8-2. Broncos are 8-2. Are these the teams that everybody at the beginning, all the brilliant people, were telling us to keep an eye on, John? The answer is no. So
No.
What do you think? And what do you, I like the fact that it's not all the usual suspects. I mean, those are some of the very best teams right now in the NFL. I mean, it's unarguable. And I don't know what's going on in Buffalo, but that head coach might be getting fired too, because that's a team that's just loaded and they just can't find wins.
Well, I won't belabor it, but Indianapolis and Jones, of course, Indiana Jones now. Did you see him, Pete, with the blood coming out of his mouth?
Yeah.
That was kind of weird, but he apparently got hit really hard. Yeah. And I don't know if he didn't have his mouth guard in. Sometimes quarterbacks, they stick it up here on the helmet and they don't have it in. I don't know what the story was, but he had blood just pouring out of his mouth, which looked really weird. Then I think tonight's matchup with Green Bay at Philadelphia, the Bears might be, right up there at that high level, that close to first place after that game, because I don't think Green Bay wins in Philly, quite frankly.
I don't think so.
And I think the teams that look good are still a lot of AFC teams, Pete, that look better than the NFC teams, in my opinion. But we'll see. What else you got?
Well, I also like the fact that, how about this? Drake May. No one really talked about Drake May. Now he's up for MVPs. Everybody's loving him. And the Patriots are relevant again. Did they find their next Tom Brady? I mean, guys are actually going that far about it. And tell you what, he's a lot like Brady as far as like, he's a big guy. He's, he can launch the ball. The coach is doing a really good job, I think, a great job. Even the Broncos, you look at them and you look at Bo Nix, who nobody talked about him, right? Everybody was like flushing the toilet on Bo Nix, which I never understood in the first place. All he did was come out of college at Oregon, and all he had was like 80% completion rate and all the rest of it. And yet these guys are like, oh, yeah, Bo Nix ain't that good. Well, it looks like he's pretty damn good to me. College football.
By the way, that was one of the worst football games ever. The Broncos versus the Raiders last week, Pete, just a horrible game. I mean, put a bad taste in my mouth. And I don't think the announcers said it enough, Pete, but Bo Nix, he hit a bunch of his receivers right between the 8 and the 0 or whatever. In other words, right in the middle of their chest, bounces up in the air and it's picked. And it's like, what the F? Run those guys till they drop. Yeah. And then maybe they'll stop dropping passes in the game, because that was pathetic.
Yeah, I agree with you. How about this, John? College football, it's getting pretty exciting. We're getting closer and closer to the end of the season and all the rest of it. We're into November, right? So we kind of know who are the teams and schools that are going to be going into the playoff, but the difficulty right now is who's the next tier, meaning the next tier of schools that you've got a couple undefeateds. You got at the very top, right? So you've got the undefeateds, then you got the one-loss teams. But how about the two-loss teams that have a shot, maybe still? And I just thought we could take a look, John, and I got my 4. I've got Notre Dame, Texas. Texas, if they can run through what they got in front of them, John, they deserve to be there. And I know that, everybody was all over Arch Manning and everything else and this, that, and the other. Texas has only got 2 losses. They're kind of still shifting around. USC is an interesting one. I don't think they're great, but they've got a couple signature wins here and there, and I think that USC is probably worth keeping an eye on. Oklahoma's probably worth it. Vandy, I don't know. Utah. What do you think as far as what would you say would be your 4 of those guys? Notre Dame, Texas, Oklahoma, Vandy, Utah, Miami, USC, Michigan, because those are probably the schools with 2 losses who still have a shot.
Yeah, I like Vandy, Pete, because they're gutsy the way they play, and because they don't seem to be shying away from big teams and playing well against big teams. I mean, this is not a team that gets blown out. Right. They lose, they've lost the 2 that they lost. They weren't controversial, in my opinion. they were just outplayed.
Mm-hmm.
But they are on a different level than Vandy teams usually have been.
Yeah.
Texas, you're right. For whatever reason, Arch just had, a series of 3 or 4 games where he stunk. And now he has picked up the pace and, looks like he's not a Heisman candidate anymore, but he certainly looks like he can lead the team. And that's a very talented and, if you know what I mean, high-priced team.
Yeah, they are.
That he's leading. So I like him. Still, I haven't seen anybody that really is going to challenge Ohio State or Indiana, Pete.
Right.
On those stages, I think those 2 Big Ten teams, and, Dan Lanning at Oregon, you could throw him into that mix. But those first 2 teams are undefeated. So I'll say Ohio State and Indiana, they're the best. And then it's the rest.
The best 2 pro teams that are out there, I think, would be Texas A&M and Texas Tech. I mean, those guys, they're in a different world, and the money that they've got, they're just sitting there going like this. But they got some players, and I love this, and I know you do too, John. But the last thing I'll say about all this is there's a Texas Tech linebacker that a lot of people are saying this kid should win the Heisman. So kind of fun that there's even somebody, A, that's on defense, B, it's not some cornerback receiver kind of a thing and all the rest of those kinds of things. It's a linebacker. And I think that's so cool because as a linebacker, you were a linebacker, David Paul were linebackers, our buddy Ron Rivera, all of us. It's really cool to see somebody getting talked about at least talked about as a linebacker for being a Heisman Trophy winner. And you know what? You just never can get the kind of numbers that are going to get you there. But he is pretty special. And those players at Texas Tech, shoot, I'll throw in Texas A&M. Those guys, there's some ballers on both sides of the ball on those 2 schools. It's amazing.
It is, and it's exciting to see when you do see a player, like a Travis Hunter, who is a great shutdown player on defense and could be the receiver on offense as well.
Yeah.
But that linebacker, he is pretty special, Pete.
Yeah.
And I know that he's got a good cast of characters around him. And I do mean characters. I think Texas Tech, that they could probably do a, what is it that they do for the NFL, Pete? Hard Knocks?
Oh,
you
yeah.
could probably do a Hard Knocks with Texas Tech. That would be pretty damn interesting.
They're living large down there, John. They're living large.
Well, thanks for joining us, folks. Again, I'm at the Uncorrelated event down here in Cayman. We want to thank Raul Paul and the Uncorrelated team. I'll be on this afternoon with the one and only Grant Cardone and the CEO of UPXI. I'm an advisor to their board. They're a Solana DAT, digital asset treasury company, and they are the first Solana DAT. Now there's a bunch of also-rans in there, but they're the first. And if you didn't know it, Solana is a very lightning fast and very inexpensive way for people to trade. It's not the same as Ethereum. And of course, nobody's really trading with Bitcoin. So anyway, Pete and I will be back tomorrow at what time, Pete?
We're going to do 1 p.m. Eastern time, John. It's going to be fun, and they're going to bring the heat, baby.
Bang. See you then, folks.